I love James Bond. I love the gadgets, the cars, the locations, the set pieces, the action, the skiing. George Lazenby comes in and makes a movie that's 40% skiing, but not to be outdone, Roger Moore comes in and he's like, "You suck, George Lazenby, watch me ski off this cliff." And then he comes back in A View to a Kill and he's like, I did not edit this at all. But then Timothy Dalton comes in and he's like, "Fuck you, Roger, I'll ski without skis. I'll ski without snow." But out of nowhere, Pierce Brosnan descends from the sky. What the hell is this? What the hell is this? What, is he running from a doomsday laser? What the fuck? Get out of there, Pierce. He's doing some weird shit now. Then Daniel Craig crashes a plane through a barn into a car. Meanwhile, Sean Connery just played golf.
I have to sink this to have the game, right?
Each one of these actors brings their own interpretation of the character to the screen. Watching these movies isn't just watching James Bond, it's watching what people in that era thought James Bond should be. When I was a kid, I thought James Bond was the coolest thing. I watched these at my friend's house all the time and we both just loved them. What I think I love most is how pluralistic the series is. If you asked everyone on the planet to rank all the James Bond movies, no two people would have the same list. I don't even have the same list as myself sometimes. Sometimes I'll rewatch a movie and be like, "Damn, that was actually pretty good." Other times I'll be like, "Damn, that sucked balls." There are some that I find myself consistently enjoying or hating, and those stay on the extremes of my list, but everything jumps around eventually. I wanted to make a short video to share my thoughts on the entire series and to make some useless speculations about the future. So after I had finished my marathon, I sat down in front of my computer and just started talking about how I feel about these movies. That turned out to be 9 hours long. Holy fuck, I'm not editing that. So instead I decided to do a short video on every era. In these videos I'll focus on one specific movie from each actor and try to pretty much sum up their portrayal from snippets of other films. I plan on releasing these videos every day this week, we'll see how that goes, and then I'm never going to think or talk about them ever again. If I don't talk about the one you want me to talk about, tough shit. Now, if you're a human person, or a dog whose owner watches a lot of TV, or a lizard man trying to approximate human behavior to better integrate into society so that you might one day conquer and enslave humanity, then you've probably seen Goldfinger. This movie made James Bond a household name, but what more is there to say about it? I was gonna start with Dr. No, but there just wasn't enough funny stuff to talk about, unlike You Only Live Twice.
Ninjas.
Did you know that the crew was flown around Japan by a former kamikaze pilot? I didn't know that you could be a former kamikaze pilot. I guess he was just really bad at it. Or maybe he was really, really good. I guess You Only Live Twice. Also, if you're wondering why my audio is so bad, it's because in the spirit of this movie, I'm recording from space. The year was 1962. Albert R. Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman had just released Dr. No, directed by Terrence Young, the first installment of the 007 film series. The Vatican called it a dangerous mixture of violence, vulgarity, sadism, and sex, but they left off the Oxford comma in their statement, so it doesn't count, while the Kremlin called it the personification of capitalist evil. Harsh words from a country that once traded 17 submarines and 3 warships for a year's supply of Pepsi, but whatever floats your boat, I guess. It was basically an OK noir film, but it did what it needed to, that is, introduce film-going audiences to James Bond. And in 1963, From Russia with Love was released. This was basically Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest adapted into the James Bond character. But then, after that, in 1964, Guy Hamilton made Goldfinger, and everyone lost their fucking minds.
And the stewardess comes up and she says, "My name is Pussy Galore." He says, "I must be dreaming."
It was a critical and financial success, becoming one of the fastest grossing films of all time, and James Bond became a household name. Goldfinger was also the first James Bond film to receive an Academy Award, which was for sound editing. With this critical and financial success in their laps, delivered by Guy Hamilton, producers brought back Terrence Young to direct Thunderball, released in 1965. It was well received, but not as well as Goldfinger, and remains the only James Bond film where 80% of the movie was a water level. Then Columbia Pictures was like, "Wow, this James Bond stuff is popular and we bought the rights to Casino Royale, so let's hack out some inferior garbage and hope that we can trick a few people into buying tickets for it." Critics hated it, but the Bond name made it the 13th highest grossing film of the year. And that brings us to 1967 and the release of You Only Live Twice. Why do I want to talk about this movie? Why not Goldfinger, the most successful one? Why not Dr. No, the one with the most actors in yellowface? Not that that's necessarily missing in You Only Live Twice. In reviews of the Connery-era Bond films, people always talk about Sean Connery. Everyone in the world knows Sean Connery at this point. What else can I say about him? But in You Only Live Twice, you can tell that he's kind of checked out.
He tried to kill me.
You seem really concerned about it. However, a lot of the production managers were at the height of their powers, with Ken Adam and John Barry shining through especially. You Only Live Twice is also the first James Bond movie I ever saw, which is like having your first introduction to the Marvel movies be Captain America Civil War. It followed the natural escalation of the plot from the previous films, and I was just completely lost. In Dr. No, James Bond has to stop a bad guy from using radio signals to mess with US rockets or something. I don't think anyone knows what was going on in that movie. In From Russia with Love, he has to steal a MacGuffin from the Russians and not get killed by Alfred Hitchcock. In Goldfinger, he has to stop a guy from blowing up a bank. In Thunderball, he has to stop a bunch of guys from blowing up a city. So how do you up the ante on that? James Bond has to stop World War III. The movie starts in space! The US is running their Gemini program when another ship intercepts them. How did you not see that? How do you sneak up on someone in space? The ship gets shipnapped. Back on Earth, the US blames the Soviet Union because, I mean, who the fuck else are they gonna blame? But then, for some reason, this British guy who just stumbled into the meeting says, "We don't think it was Russia."
We don't agree. Her Majesty's government is not convinced that this intruder missile originated from Soviet Russia. Our tracking station in Singapore reported faint echoes of this craft coming down in the Sea of Japan area.
Ah, brilliant deduction, Sherlock. Now all we have to do is figure out which countries border the Sea of Japan. Let's see, that's Japan and Russia. Well, let's narrow it down a bit more. Which countries border the Sea of Japan, have active space programs, and hate the United States? But that begs the question, what is this guy doing here? Like, I get the American guy because it was their ship, and I get the Russian guy because they're the ones getting blamed, but I don't think this guy was even invited to the meeting. I think he just showed up. Then we see James Bond, and right off the bat we get thrust into that rich, authentic 1960s racism.
Why do Chinese girls taste different from all other girls?
But these guys burst into the room and James Bond gets fucking killed. Roll credits, the end. It was a setup, but it makes me wonder who exactly was in on it. Like, were all these people in on it? Were the cops in on it? Why just not release a news story and hold a fake funeral? All this might have been overkill. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, Thunderball did this too, where it made you think that James Bond was dead for like half a second. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it more, From Russia with Love did that too. What is it with the early James Bond movies trying to make us think James Bond is dead in the first scene? His name's just all over the fucking movie. After the funeral, James Bond ends up in something long, hard, and full of semen. This begins the tradition of putting M's office in unusual places. Then he shows up in Japan. I guess he steals a car and drives to Tokyo? Unless the movie is saying he walked there. Naturally, the first thing he does is go to a sumo match to hit on chicks.
I love you.
She takes him to a house where he meets, holy shit, James Bond, it's Blofeld.
Well, well, well. Look what the cat dragged in.
Quick, stab him. Oh, good. I guess people who live in glass houses can't get stabbed through the wall. Good thing that guy had a mask you can steal. Good thing he took you to his office instead of a hospital. Good thing he brought your safe cracking equipment. Good thing the guards are fucking stupid. Good thing this girl was there to give you a ride. So then James Bond falls down a slide where he meets Taiga Tanaka, a professional Japanese man. Using state-of-the-art Japanese technology, they enhance a photo Bond found at the office. Bond and Tanaka then go to Tanaka's house, where they bond over their mutual inability to sexually satisfy women.
In Japan, men always come first, women come second.
There he meets up with Aki, the girl from earlier, who's decided to insert herself as Bond's love interest.
Aki.
Like, there was like no flirting or anything at all before this. They just jump right into it. It's super weird, unless you count this.
I love you.
Bond goes back to the office he stole the picture from. This time he gets a meeting with the president, Osato, who takes some time to warn children about the dangers of cigarettes.
You should give up smoking. Cigarettes are very bad for your chest.
Mr. Osato believes in a healthy chest.
Is this 1960s flirting? I genuinely do not know. Osato decides to kill Bond before his cigarettes do.
Kill him.
Shoot him! Come on, shoot him, he's right there! Get him! So then the Japanese send a helicopter to pick up the car, and they fly it all the way out and drop it in the ocean. Who is filming this? So the Japanese send a helicopter to hijack this car, then they send another helicopter so that Bond and Aki can watch them drop it into the ocean? This is a trope in old movies that I kind of hate, where they repurpose movie footage as TV footage for the movie, because coverage is for chumps, I guess. Honestly, you could cut this scene out entirely. Like, the important information is that James Bond isn't getting chased anymore. The scene could end here.
How's that for Japanese efficiency?
But also, it reminds me that they're in Japan. They're the law here. It's not like Bond is behind the Iron Curtain. He can just walk around and shoot whoever he wants as long as he can justify it. Just have the police storm Osato's house and waterboard him. There's literally nothing and no one to stop you. Why am I advocating for totalitarianism in a Bond film? But now we gotta talk about my favorite scene in the film. Bond goes to the dock with Aki to look for the boat in the picture. Then out of nowhere,
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
John Barry hits you over the head with this amazing score. It goes dun 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 dun. Look at this shot, it's incredible. This is the kind of shot you wouldn't see in a movie today. The director would suggest this and some producer would say, "But you have to see Liam Neeson in the shot. How else would the audience know that that was Liam Neeson? And shake the camera a bunch so they know it's an intense scene." This movie came out over 50 years ago, and it feels like action movies have gotten worse. Watch out for my stick. So Bond gets captured again, and he seduces the hot redhead again. He could not look more miserable, and she tries to kill him again. At this point, it's on you, man. She got into the plane wearing a parachute, but instead of in Thunderball, where there's a chase and some tension, here he just shows back up at Tanaka's house like, "Yeah, that sure was a weird thing that just happened." And then they forget about it. That's when Q shows up. So when I watched this movie for the first time when I was like 10, I had no idea who Q was, or what his relationship to Bond was. So to me, he's just a guy who showed up and gave Bond a free helicopter. Only after watching all of these movies do I have a complete appreciation for Q and Desmond Llewellyn. As the series goes on, you'll see what I mean.
You'll see.
Bond takes his gyrocopter with
2 machine guns, 2 rocket launchers, heat-seeking air-to-air missiles, flame guns, aerial mines.
On a light scouting mission over a civilian town. A lot of wood buildings down there. Remember when I said the rooftop scene was my favorite? Well, it turns out I am a fucking liar because this scene is my actual favorite. Oh no, watch out, James Bond, it's John Barry, he's back! Meanwhile, a spacecraft that's definitely Russian is launched from definitely not Florida. The ship gets captured and taken to this amazing Ken Adam set. Now I want to take a brief detour to tell you guys a bit about Ken Adam. Ken Adam was born Klaus Adam in Germany in 1921 to a prominent Jewish family. Now, if you have a passing interest in history, then you might know that Germany in the early 20th century is not the best place to be Jewish, let alone prominently Jewish. So the Adam family noped right the fuck on out of there to Britain, where Ken took up as a draftsman designing bomb shelters because World War II. He wanted to join the RAF, but, and this might surprise you, the RAF didn't take many German pilots. This is for a couple of reasons. One is they were more in the habit of taking Germans out of the sky than putting them up there, and two is because if you're a Brit and you get shot down over Germany, congratulations, you're a prisoner of war now, with all the protections that come with it. If you're a German and you get shot down over Germany, congratulations, you're a traitor. So Ken Adam says, fuck that shit, I want to kill Hitler. So the RAF just said, alright, and put him to work as a pilot. He was given the nickname Heine the Tank Buster for his exploits, which is pretty badass. Then World War II ends, Adam goes back to architecture, ends up in set design, works for Albert Broccoli and Harry Saltzman designing the sets for Dr. No. Stanley Kubrick sees this and is like, you're hired. Ken Adam designs the sets for Dr. Strangelove. And I'll be a monkey's left nipple if this doesn't encapsulate the Cold War. I mean, what is the Cold War if not a bunch of crazy people in a dark room yelling violently at a big map?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Alright, Klaus, we won a lot of awards together with that last one. I'm working on a space movie right now. Are you in? Yeah. Alright, good. There's just one condition. We have to make the sets realistic. I know this might compromise your artistic intent, but it's a small price to pay for... Wait, where are you going? Albert, I want to make unique and creative sets like no one has ever seen. No problem, man. Here's $1 million.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
You expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
People talk about Frank Lloyd Wright and Le Corbusier as the best architects of the 20th century, but I say that Ken Adam at least deserves consideration. This set cost $1 million to make in 1967 money, and had a working monorail and a helipad. It also completely aestheticizes the nature of the villains. Adam would go on to have a long and prestigious career in set design, and I think this man deserves more recognition for his amazing work in aesthetics. Not just recognition from pretentious film nerds, but also from mainstream architects and designers. Alright, hang on, let me just get down from here. But by now you've probably realized why I love James Bond. The producers were willing to take really creative and talented people and just give them unreasonable amounts of cash. Spectre finds out that James Bond is alive.
Only one person we know uses this sort of gun. James Bond.
But Bond is dead.
It was in all the newspapers.
Rubbish. Bond is alive.
I know, I don't believe it either. Honestly, you have no one to blame but yourself, lady. That's what you get for working for a guy with a piranha death bridge.
Kill Bond! Now!
Bond needs to sneak onto the island to get a better look at the volcano. So now he has to go even more undercover. What's more undercover than being dead? Being Japanese.
First, you become a Japanese.
He also has to learn to be more stealthy, so Tanaka sends him to his ninja training school, tuition free.
This is my ninja training school.
Very mysterious. Much stealth. Such subtlety.
Ninjas.
The art of concealment and surprise, one son.
Then Tanaka says,
Now, we will see some modern ninjas.
and it's just a bunch of guys with guns. They also take some time to show kids the dangers of cigarettes. Oh my god. Jesus, this is awful. It looks like they put on just like half the Spock makeup from Star Trek. It's also decided that Bond should marry one of Tanaka's agents, who happens to be an island native. And I just have one question. Why are you doing any of this? You know where they are. Just storm the island, hit the volcano with a fucking cruise missile. I don't care, just get it done. There are 50,000 US troops in Japan today. Kick down the fucking door. What the fuck is Spectre gonna do? Call the police? You have all the power. This is the most pointless shit ever. Ninjas try to kill Bond, but don't worry. These aren't the ninjas with guns we saw earlier. They're the ninjas that would instantly get killed by a man with a gun. Oh no, he killed Aki. If only there was a more accurate weapon they could have used. Okay, but that's not what I meant. But the real question is, how did the assassins know this was Bond, despite his very convincing Japanese makeup? So then, Bond gets married to one of Tanaka's agents named... Wait, hang on. What the fuck? They don't say her name in the movie at all. Well, filmmakers, if you didn't want to name her, I guess you wanted me to. In this scene, James Bond gets married to one of Tanaka's agents, named Pigface McScrotalwagger, Kissy Suzuki, like the car. I had to go all the way to the credits for that, but in my defense, apparently she does have a face like a pig.
She has a face like a pig.
So then Bond is on the island pretending to be an elderly Japanese man. Just storm the damn mountain. It would be so easy. They get news the Americans are launching the next spacecraft that night, so they have to start actually working. Then we get some more awkward, let's charitably call it flirting.
It's hard work.
Some honeymoon.
Geez, no wonder they skipped all this with Aki. They make it to the top of the volcano and see it's actually a big metal door.
Get back to Tanaka. Tell him to come here with every man he's got.
Boy, I sure am glad I brought my blue hoodie under my Japanese fisherman clothes. Bond infiltrates the base and frees the astronauts, who are still alive for some reason.
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Then Bond almost goes into space, but Blofeld stops him. And yeah, I think it's disappointing we didn't go full Moonraker here. But I think the sudden escalation would have been a bridge too far. And that's when we meet Blofeld, played by Donald Pleasance. And I think it says a lot about his performance when I say his portrayal of Blofeld has yet to be topped. Donald Pleasance stares into your soul.
You only live twice, Mr. Bond.
It's really unnerving. I think he's one of my favorite actors that never really got his due in Hollywood. But how could you pay a man his dues when they're that high?
Have you paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir. The check is in the mail.
Tanaka shows up with like 100 guys. You could literally have brought as many as you wanted.
Go hit him!
But they can't get in. Blofeld tells this Hitler's Youth-looking motherfucker to activate the spaceship self-destruct when they capture the American spacecraft. Blofeld lets James Bond take some time to teach kids about the dangers of cigarettes. Remember when I said that helicopter scene was my favorite? Well, I am a liar once again. This is probably the best fight scene ever. The set, the scale, the choreography, everything comes together perfectly to create an intense and captivating action scene. Then you got all these explosions going on. You got this poor fucking cat. Apparently, subjecting a cat to the apocalypse isn't the best thing for its mental health. They found it days later in a closet, terrified. Blofeld kills Osato, Tanaka kills Blofeld's gun, Bond kills Hans, Button kills Spaceship, and Blofeld kills Volcano. Bond and Kissy escape on Bond's personal sex raft before something long and hard and full of semen comes out, and that's the film. I really love this movie. It has everything I value in a Bond film, save two. I love the sets, the supporting cast, the locations, the gadgets. My two problems with this movie are: one, the romance is lacking, probably because two, Sean Connery was completely checked out. He had a nice scene with Donald Pleasance as Blofeld, maybe because Donald Pleasance elevates everything he's in, I don't know. The script is nothing special, which is weird considering Roald Dahl wrote it, but that means if you want, you can pretend Willy Wonka's chocolate factory was a Spectre operation.
Don't just stand there, do something!
Help. Police. Murder.
This movie also has some really impressive cinematography. Some of these shots I don't think I would see in a major action movie today. The coordination is incredible. Some of the effects don't hold up as well, but these sets have and will stand the test of time. It's actually amazing to me that I don't think anyone has been able to improve on what Ken Adam did over the course of his career. Don't worry, he'll be back. Because of all these things and so much more, You Only Live Twice holds a special place in my heart.
Ninjas.